Good morning. Welcome to Shawnee Mission Unitarian Universalist Church. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are in life's journey, you are welcome here. We are so happy that you've chosen this YouTube channel, this Sabbath, this sanctuary and time. We know that you have so many options on Sundays, and that and that you chose to be here is something that we celebrate. We extend an especially warm welcome to our visitors and anyone who may be watching our service online for the first time. If you would like to follow along with the hymns using a hymnal and forgot to pick one up on the way in, feel free to grab one from the carts near the entrance here in a moment. We now invite everyone to greet each other in any way possibly can. Elbows if you're here, and if you're joining us online, please say hi in the chat.
J. Mitchell. See? J. Mitchell. Okay. Okay, let's not greet too long.
All right, and now we have a few announcements.
We have one quick announcement from Phil and then Jen Lacey.
I am very happy to tell everybody that this week we reached halfway to our goal on our Paving Our Way capital campaign. So we are at $490,000 right now. So appreciate everyone that has pledged so far and looking forward to receiving more. With regard to that, Adam Kaler and I will have a session out in Fellowship Hall after the service today, just providing a little more information if we can and answering anybody's questions that's out there. So, see you there.
Good morning. SMUUCh is happy to host our first adult OWLS course. This program is being taught by trained facilitators from our community and will explore sexuality issues for adults of all ages, build understanding of healthy sexual relationships, and help participants accept and affirm their own sexuality throughout their lives. The course will begin with the introductory session on Sunday, October 29th at noon. Light snacks will be provided for each session. You can find more information in our weekly newsletter and in Realm. There are only 15 spots for this course, and I think 5 have already filled, so if you're interested, make sure you get signed up. And then lastly, there is an 8th principal meeting following today's service at noon in the boardroom.
Good morning. We are now entering into a special season in our annual liturgical calendar when each year we reserve the 2 Sundays before Halloween as time to explore topics of grief, loss, and longing. This Sunday we will be exploring grief in the context of how we experience it at different stages of life, starting in childhood. But next Sunday, we will specifically create space to think of, name, memorialize, and celebrate the lives of people we have lost. As we do every year, we will be creating an altar down here in front of the pulpit, and we invite you to bring photos of those who have lost. Because we know that several of our own children and youth have lost immediate family members in the last couple of years, we will have a little time for them to explore the altar during the service, and I'll have them light a candle for someone who's passed. Our opening words come from the dedication page of the book, The Little Prince. It says, "I ask the indulgence of the children who may read this book for dedicating it to a grown-up. Thus, I will dedicate this book to the child from whom this grown-up grew. All the grown-ups were once children, although few of them remember it. And so I correct my dedication," he says, "to Leon Worth when he was a little boy." So today this service is for the child from whom you all grew, for you when you were a little kid. Come, let us sing.
As you're willing and able for hymn number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere.
As Jay Mitchell comes forward to light our chalice, we invite you to join us in our recite of our covenant. Let us affirm that love is a doctrine of this church, the quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with one another. Each month, as we, a community, take time to reflect on a theme, the children do this in their classes, and we do it here in worship in our small groups. This month, the theme is heritage. All right. When my grandmother was a child, her mother would help her and her little sister put on their boots. As they walk across the creek, carefully minding not to slip on the large stones that their father had painstakingly laid out in a perfect row. She loved seeing the crawdads as they darted under the stones. She remembered hearing the frogs splash into the water and the wild wind whistling through the reeds. From mid-spring to late summer, they made this journey twice a week, and it was her favorite chore of all. The small rickety shed that they had their baskets from was on the opposite side of a thicket of plum trees. She had to keep her little sister from kicking the black plums, knowing from experience that the occasional rotten one would explode in a purple squishy mess. It would splash and stain your apron and would never come out, no matter how much washing. Her little sister settled for just stomping on the ones that were already a purple squishy mess on the ground. When they reached their destination, the dew had already lifted. The sun set the hills aglow, showing off bright red freckles. The strawberries rested there, waiting patiently for the moment they would be chosen to make the journey back home with the girls. And then the harvest. Pluck the dark red ones, leave the ones that still have white for next time. Don't forget to step on the wiggly green worms whenever you come across them. Check the gooseberry bushes, see if there's enough to make a pie. Grandma knew that more berries should go into your basket than in your belly. But her sister wasn't a firm believer in that. When the basket grew too heavy to make the trip back, it was time to check her sister's bounty. Pitiful. Her little eyes would fill with tears, face all stained in a red sticky mess. This was why Grandma's basket was a little too full for her to carry. She'd shake her head and transfer handfuls of berries to her sister's basket. She knew that Jesus would give handfuls of strawberries to fill his sister's basket if she had been as silly. They made the journey back home. Most of the berries were made into preserves, but they would have pie if the boys thought well enough to cut some rhubarb on their way back home from the fields. As the boys and girls had finished the day's harvest, they would wash their faces while their mom prepared the dinner. It was a feast every evening during the warm seasons. They would gather around the table and wait their father to give the blessings. The other children poke at each other and look at their faces and the spoons. Grandma, though, she listened and felt the love of the Heavenly Father deep down in her heart. It was so warm. She knew that she wanted to be just like her mother and like Jesus when she grew up. And she was. I remember her making the strawberry preserves and baking the pies, just like her mother. She cooked a feast every evening, taking any leftovers to the families at the church who couldn't feed themselves. Any spare penny she had went towards those families who needed it. She knitted sweaters to have in the closet so that she'd give them to the guests who forgot their jackets. She sewed a quilt for every infant she knew, even before they were born. All her time and energy was traded so that she could give the gift of compassion. I'm not a Christian. Many of us have been hurt by Christians, blaming beliefs. We may have been hurt by church congregations and came out hating all people of that religion. My grandmother was a Christian who lived Christ-like. It was beautiful. I want my daughter to see that even if her beliefs don't align with her ancestors, there's an unshakable core of morality that will always be a proud part of my heritage. And that, the core, is compassion. So share the wisdom that comes along with kicking the plums, and always share the berries from your basket, even if it's not overflowing.
Could I please have all the children and youth come forward to join me up here? Hi, guys. Anybody new want to come up? We're going to do something fun. All right, have a seat. Hi, guys. How are you all? Okay, tell me all your names. What's your name? Wesley, Aiden, Joel, William, Clarissa. Hi, Alden. And I see some little kids out there. Well, today, the grown-ups are going to be talking about aging and our inner childs. So, I'm wondering if you all can guess how old I am. Yeah, do you have a guess? I see you thinking. 40? That is very close. 40, you're going in the wrong direction with 41 there. Yeah. That was a very good guess. I am, in fact, 37 years old. Now let me see if I can guess your ages. Okay, I think you are 11. Yes. I think you are 9. Yes. I think you are 9, 8, 10. 11? Okay, dang it. Okay, I think you two are 5. Yeah. Oh, Wesley's 9. Thank you for telling me. Well, okay, let's see. Is there anybody? You're a twin. You guys are twins. And Wesley's 9. Got it. You have the birthday on the same day? Cool, cool. Good to know. Okay, is there anybody else here who is younger than 5? Do I have any little kiddos who are younger than 5? Yeah, how old are you in the back? 4? Yeah. How old are you over there? How old are you, Miss Cat Ears? 6. All right. Okay. Oh, look, there's a baby. Okay. How old is this baby? She's 6 months. That's my baby. Okay, come on over here. Come bring the baby over here. All right, now let's go in the other direction. So you're 11, you're the oldest here. Do we have anybody who's older than 11? in the house? Yes. Okay. Do we have anybody who's in their teens? Okay. Anybody in their 20s? Okay. Got some 20-year-olds. Do we have anybody in their 30s? Okay. Welcome. That's my club. How about the 40s? Do we have any 40-year-olds? Yep. Do we have any 50-year-olds? Yes. Kira, are you the only? Oh, no. You guys. Wow. Demographically, we are low on the 50-year-olds. That's good to know. Okay. Do we have any 60s? People in their 60s? Okay. 70s? Okay. 80s? All righty. Do we have anybody? Yes. Anybody in their 90s? Oh. All right. Do we have anyone who's 91? 92? 93? 94? Nan's 94? 95? Chet, how old are you? 91. That's still very old. All right. Well, Miss Nan, we have a treat for you today. We are going to do as we do once a year and bring the youngest in the room over to the oldest in the room. All right, kids, come with me. Let's go witness the glory of life. Okay, I'm going to take this chair. All right, kids, can you imagine that Nan here was once a tiny baby? Well, as they sit here together, we're going to have our choir sing one more round of that song. Okay. Right now, let's go back up here. So this week, I want you all to think about aging. Think about how, as you grow older, your lives may change and you will see things differently. And so taking a minute to appreciate your own childhood. Okay, you may go to your classes with Jen, and all the kids are welcome to go with Jen to the RE hallway if you'd like. We come to this place to see and be seen, to teach and be taught, to hear and be heard. I invite you to reach over and nudge the person sitting next to you, reminding them that they and you are gathered here together in peace and authenticity and intention. We also come to this place to share our joys and sorrows. If you have a rare joy or a profound sorrow, I invite you to come forward and light a candle.
I'm lighting a virtual candle for Liz Campbell, a former member who died about 10 days ago. She'd had a lot of health issues at the end of her life, and her daughter posted on her Facebook page that she died about 10 days ago. So many of you who knew her might not have known about this.
I light this candle for the 4,651 Palestinians, including 187 elderly, 1,023 women, 1,873 children and babies, the doctors, nurses, religious heads, and reporters that have all been martyred in Gaza, for the 14,245 that have been injured and the 6,000 that are missing, trapped beneath the rubble, for the 1.7 million displaced, for the 2.2 million and now more under threat, for the more than 50 entire family lineages that have been wiped off the registry. As of this morning, for the newly martyred and injured that were targeted at a mosque in the West Bank. May we never forget the dead. May we continue to fight for the living. Let them not be silenced. Let them be free from tyranny. Equal rights for all means equal rights for all, and never again means never again for anyone.
My name is Jennifer Sagan. My sister-in-law, Diana Dutton, passed away last week. This is a candle for my brother, Doug. They were married for 46 years, and hoping that he is able to move forward.
I'm Grunter. I'm lighting a candle of joy. About a month ago, I got diagnosed with hypermobility spectrum disorder. Basically what that means is that my cartilage has like an inherent fault in it. My candle of joy is because I've started using braces and a cane to help me with mobility. And for the first time when I'm going places, I'm not completely exhausted afterwards. So this is my candle of joy.
I'm lighting a candle of joy. This is a Heritage Month for our Soul Matters group, and my mother was a music teacher, and from the time we were little, she taught us to sing. And this afternoon, my sister, who sings with the Sweet Adeline group that is top in the region, and they're going to internationals next week, is putting on a concert here at the church as a dress rehearsal for their international competition. And I feel so good that I can stand in the place of my mom, and I can be here to support my sister and also help provide a space where she can bring music into the world. And you're all invited if you'd like to come at 1:15. It's free.
I light the remaining candles for all the joys and sorrows that remain unspoken in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts.
At this time, I invite you to listen to the choir as we sing the Joys and Sorrows song once for you, and then we invite you to join us the second time through.
All
I invite you to put your feet flat on the floor. Take a moment to come more fully into this place, allowing your breathing to deepen beautifully, wiggling your jaw, noticing an area in your body that is tense or tight, and embrace it and say, relax. It's okay to relax. I invite you to become aware of your body, aware of your breathing. Coming into an awareness of yourself as someone who has been with you your entire life. Remembering that this same mind and body you inhabit now is the one of you as a child. Remembering that it is only the heart that can see rightly, that what is essential is invisible to the eye. In the book, The Little Prince, our narrator reminds us that the proof that the little prince existed is that he was charming, that he laughed, and that he was looking for a sheep. I wonder, what sorts of proof do you have that you existed as a child? Did you collect small objects? Did you jump off things? Did you experience loneliness and beauty? Continuing to breathe deeply into your lower belly, I invite you to draw yourself to mind at a younger age. You may choose what age, whether it's an age that needs healing or an age that could heal you now, or both. Envision an image of yourself smiling. I invite you to speak to your own inner child in repeating after me. I invite you to first say your own name, Rose. And then, keeping in your mind's eye this little you, repeat after me. May you be free from suffering. May you be free from harm. May you be free. I invite you to let the corners of your lips turn up in gratitude for this life we've lived. As we sing our meditative hymn, I envision you to sing to that little you. Our first reading today is from author Toni Morrison. During an interview, she was asked, "How do you survive whole in a world where we are all victim to something?" And she replied, "How do you survive whole?" You know, that's a nice big fat Eastern Western philosophical question about how do you get through. Sometimes you don't survive whole. Sometimes you survive in part. But the grandeur of life is that attempt. It's not about the solution. It's about being as fearless as you can and behaving as beautifully as you can under completely impossible circumstances.
Our second reading comes from Unitarian Universalist author Kurt Vonnegut. Be soft. Do not let the world make you hard. Do not let pain make you hate. Do not let the bitterness steal your sweetness. Take pride that even though the rest of the world may disagree, you still believe it to be a beautiful place.
Grief colors our lives like a lens through which we see everything. It's a painful state of being, like we are surviving in part. But the grandeur of this life is the attempt to live well despite what we have lost, responding with curiosity, openness, and connection. Today, I'd like to talk about a book, a famous book that most people have read, The Little Prince, a short book that was written for children and adults alike. It is the most translated book following the Bible, and is beloved by many of us because it speaks to the grief we feel in life, even as young children. It's an aching, fantastical story about being a grown-up who has lost touch with your inner child, and therefore lost an understanding of what is most important about life. Now, the story takes place in the great expanse of desert, when a pilot becomes stranded 1,000 miles from anywhere and wakes up the next morning to a fastidiously dressed little boy who says, "If you please, draw me a sheep." This little prince rejects several iterations of drawings of sheep, saying this one looks too sick, this one looks too old, until finally the pilot draws a box with 3 little holes in it, and the young boy is satisfied, peering into the drawing as if looking into the box and saying, "Aw, he's gone to sleep." This great expanse of desert allows these two to discuss life's greatest philosophical questions: what it means to love, what it means to imagine, to age, to lose touch with childlike wonder, and to grieve. Indeed, this book was written during a time of great loss. The author lived in France in the decades leading up to World War II and was a commercial pilot. But once the violence began, he took to writing. And during a time when so many children's lives were at stake, he chose to write a book about the inner child, the beauty of childhood, and the innocence and wisdom of children themselves. The book was published in 1943, and the author died in 1944 after dedicating himself to the work of anti-fascism. This book then is tied to a time in global history of great grieving and tragedy, the horrific loss that came from the ethnic cleansing of the Nazis. And we know now the tragic stories that survivors and their descendants tell about the unspeakable experience of being held or killed in unthinkable numbers and conditions. This is why I chose this book at this particular moment, because in the last few weeks there has been much grief about the population of global children who live in oppression, in unthinkable conditions, who live and die in war. In the news recently, we've been told or even shown photos of children in Gaza who've been injured or killed. It reminds us of the children in Ukraine, of the children who were killed in the Holocaust. Sweet and tender lives that suffered at the hand of state-sanctioned violence. And these losses weigh heavily on our soil too. How in the past years we've become aware of these mass graves of children here in the US, as the communities of indigenous people have had to travel to collect the bones of their brothers and sisters, their aunts and uncles, who died in residential schools here. We watch in horror and grief as families struggle to care for and honor the lives and deaths of their little ones. And amidst these current events, a sense of helplessness can pervade us. And so today we gather together to speak of the grief that is in our hearts, the deep waters of sorrow that soak us in their heaviness. Because there is much to grieve and there is much to weep about. But in our book, The Little Prince reminds us over and over that our tears are necessary. Although they may be painful and fraught, they are evidence that the little child lives inside us, still breathing, and wants a world where those who accompany us on this earth on our journey are free from suffering. It's a book about lamentation, grief, and loss. And we are here today to gather, feel, express, lament, and mourn for a world that is not as we wish it were, where that which is sacred and beautiful can be lost. And indeed, this is what the little prince was going through. For he had left his planet, and on his planet he had left a single flower. Here's an excerpt from the book. The little prince said, "What does that mean, ephemeral?" Who never in his life had let go of a question once it had been asked? "It means that which is in danger of speedy disappearance," said the man. "Then is my flower in danger of speedy disappearance?" asked the little prince. "Certainly it is," said the man. "My flower is ephemeral, the little prince said to himself, and she only has 4 thorns to defend herself against the world, and I have left her on my planet all alone. Later, when the little prince is still talking about his flower, and the pilot brushes him off because he's working on his busted plane, the little prince says, "And if I know one flower which is unique in the world, which grows nowhere but on my planet, which one little sheep can destroy in a single bite some morning without even noticing what he is doing, oh, you think that is not important." His face turned from white to red as he continued, "If someone loves a flower of which just one single blossom grows in all the millions and millions of stars, it is enough to make him happy just to look at the stars. He can say to himself, somewhere, my flower is there. But if the sheep eats the flower, in one moment, all his stars will be darkened. And you think that is not important." The little prince could not say anything more. His words were choked by sobbing. The night had fallen. The pilot let the tools drop from his hands and said to himself, "Of what moment now was my hammer, my bolt, my thirst, or death? On one star, one planet, my planet, Earth, there was a little prince to be comforted. I took him in my arms and rocked him, and I said to him, 'The flower that you love is not in danger. I will draw you a muzzle for your sheep. I will draw you a railing to put around your flower. I did not know what to say to him. I felt awkward and blundering. I did not know how I could reach him, where I could overtake him and go hand in hand with him once more. It is such a secret place, the land of tears.'" We may now be like this little prince, wishing that someone would come along and rock us in our grief, hold us and help us live in a world that hurts so much, where there's so much unnecessary cruelty and violence. We, like the little prince, are left so often to envision people on the other side of a hurting world, and we wish that someone big and strong would come and draw us a Middle East where there is equity and accountability and safety for people who have long suffered. You may be as angry as the little prince was, your face hot as you gesture to suffering that's been brought into the light for us as a globe to deal with. You may look in horror and feel like screaming, "You think this is not important?" Indeed, it may feel to you like we are only surviving in part. As the UUA president, Dr. Sophia Bentoncourt, said, "I invite you to stop what you are doing, if you can, and sit with me in the depth of this tragedy." How to nuance two very real histories of oppression and violence. The UN Middle East Peace Envoy Tor Wennesland said, "This is a dangerous precipice, and I appeal to all to pull back from the brink." Can we come back from the brink for one moment right now to care for our own inner children? To do a gentle rock like the pilot did for the little prince, whose flower will no more be protected by him than you and I can stop bombs. Let us take the wisdom of this book, written for times of great loss, and focus for a moment ourselves on the little beings who live inside of us, who cannot say anything more, perhaps, whose words are choked by sadness, and just love that little person inside of us who believes in a good world, and keep that tender little person well. For this, I think, is how we do survive whole. This is how we end up leading with a kindness and a love and an openness that is needed in times of great division and othering. It's from that whole place inside of us that we do eventually find a path to a healthier world. In the end of the book, The Little Prince, there's not a happy ending. Besides the pilot fixing his plane and getting to safety. The little prince is bitten by a snake and dies. And the reader is left to lament the loss of something so precious and beautiful as an innocent child. Some may say that the good news of this book is that a man became more in touch with his inner child, his inner innocence, and his inner magic, that it's an allegory. But for me, the wisdom of this book is about the simple invitation to lamentation. That to everything there is a season, that he wrote a book in a season when children were dying, so he wrote a book about a child who died. I think what he's saying is to not avoid that grief. For grief is real, maybe one of the realest things that we do feel. But to tell the truth about it is one step in the right direction. Because the worst thing we could do is business as usual. The worst thing we could do is pretend that we don't feel. Instead, rather, our task is to be soft, to not let the world make us hard, to not let the pain make us hate, to not let the bitterness steal your sweetness, to take pride that even though the rest of the world may disagree, you still believe it to be a beautiful place. To love the children of this globe as the little prince loved his rose with so much tenderness and fierceness. For when we are able to stay in a place of grief, we are in touch with the grandeur of life. For us who grieve today, it's not immediately about a solution. It's about being as fearless as we can and behaving as beautifully as we can under completely impossible circumstances. To, like the little prince, continue to care for our roses, even though it hurts that they hurt, have been hurt. To love on our own inner children, even though they hurt, so that we will be able to love and care for the children of the globe who need our care and need our support every day, forever.
Please rise as you are willing and able for our closing hymn, number 159. This is our song.
Us
You may be seated. The work of the church depends on us, our generosity of time, wisdom, and financial resources. We invite you to give generously to support the ongoing work of the church. The offering will now be given and received in grateful appreciation of our shared values. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry within our hearts until we are together again.
This week, I invite you to tend to your inner child in whatever way you can, whether that means finding photos or doing something you love to do as a child. Go in peace.